The pressure to exaggerate, to forget the old and embrace the new. Beware of the telling of great lies. Be open to the telling of great truths. The haves and the have nots. Tribal leadership. What resources do you need? These are all pressures, qualities, and questions that this cycle of the Human Design Weather for December 8th to 14th, 2025 bring. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Human Design Weather or Not podcast with me, Margo Fraser. This cycle, we're moving out of the collective and into the tribal traits. While the collective brought a pressure to better things for humanity, the tribe looks after its own. You can think about tribe as family, community, business, any group that you're a part of. So there's an underlying pressure this cycle to move from the impersonal sharing and a collective perspective to the tribal theme of mutual support and a focus on the groups that you belong to and having the needed resources. This cycle starts on December 8th at 1:22 p.m., going until December 14th at 2:12 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Universal time coordinates that's starting December 8th at 8:22 p.m., going until December 14th at 9:12 a.m. Remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start with the Sun Earth positions because that's 70% of the conditioning field. We have the sun moving into gate 26, the trait of the egoist in the heart center, also called the ego center, with its motor that provides willpower. Its keynote says the maximization of the power of memory applied to the nurturing of continuity. The tribe's always concerned with continuity to be able to have access to needed resources. This is part of the entrepreneurial side of the tribal circuitry. And to succeed, there needs to be continuous improvement. This is the gate that's gifted with being able to sell the tribe on the upgrade. The tribe is inherently conservative. So exaggeration is needed to get them to let go of the memory of the old and embrace the new. This trait can bring through great truths and great lies. It's going to bring a tendency towards exaggeration this cycle, especially when trying to get others to buy into an idea, a belief, a product, a system, whatever it might be. This is a trait that can endow you with a natural authority when actions are truly aligned with what you're selling. You have to be a living embodiment of the new. This trait's in that willpower center, and willpower has its limits. It's not generative like the sacral energy. It can push, but then it needs to relax. The juice per se isn't always there. And so leisure time is essential for recuperation. If you've been working hard, you could really feel the need for a vacation this cycle. The caution here is that the ego power of this gate may be used to maintain status quo instead of advancing, bringing that continuous improvement. Or there could be an inability to adapt to the new. This trait's associated with the immune system. So if you've been pushing and pushing yourself and not taking that break for recuperation, this is a time when you could pick up a bug that will force you to recuperate. Gate 26 is being grounded in the Earth's position, gate 45. This is the gate of the gather, also called gathering together. And it's in the throat center, a center of manifestation, communication, expression. Its keynote says the natural and generally beneficial attraction of like forces. It's the only expression of the tribal circuitry. It's the only voice that the tribe has. Every other gate in the throat center comes from the other circuitry, either collective or individual. So this is the tribal leadership gate. This is the voice of I have or I don't have. we have or we don't have. When I have this, I'm going to, whatever that might be. If I had that, then I could, blah, blah, blah. So those are the types of expressions that you may hear come out this cycle. The manifestation of the material happens here, and it's the only place in the throat where this happens. There can be a real possessiveness here in terms of gathering support for resources. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as it benefits the whole community, the whole tribe. This is what beneficial means in the keynote. But being selfishly possessive at the expense of those in the community is not going to play out well here. A leader that personally gains money and resources at the expense of their tribe can really be poisoned by that. And if you look out in the world, you can see that leaders who have become corrupt and are taking money and benefits for themselves while the citizens, don't get. This trait points at the ego center, the motor that generates willpower, we just talked about with that gate 26. So it's a gate of action. This is about gathering together support, whether that's for a cause or whether that's for a war. With this trait present and the pressure to possess resources, it can actually feel good to go shopping if you're feeling down. However, if you don't have the financial resources, go window shopping and dream. That can still feel good. If you run a business, this can be a time when you may gather support for whatever it is that you'd like to manifest. If there are resources that you do have, this activation can bring out a real generosity to share those. It can also bring an emphasis on managing your resources and on education. So again, these are themes that and qualities that may play out through you or that you may see in the world around you this cycle. When we look at the Sun Earth positions together, having or not having resources could support gathering the tribe together and selling needed changes through positive exaggeration for the benefit of all. Or possessiveness and needing more and more could result in great lies being told by a leader to bring themselves more resources without benefiting others, benefiting their tribe. A leader and their supporters could also exaggerate benefits of what they have or exaggerate detriments of a competitor to try and get others on board with their point of view and what they're selling. Make sure you're doing your own research and listen to your own strategy and authority above all other voices. If you have excess resources in some way, you could find yourself being very generous with them out of the frequencies, and you could be very persuasive in selling your ideas, your products, etc., as long as you really believe in them. All right, let's look at our channel themes now. A reminder that when the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their chart is receiving activation of the related traits and qualities. So there can be a big impact there as it's affecting everyone in the world. We have one short-term channel that we'll start off with here. It's going to come in on December 12th at 4:48 p.m., going until the 16th at 1:29 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which will take us into the next cycle. UTC, that's coming in December 12th at 11:48 p.m., going until the 16th at 8:29 a.m. We have Mars moving into gate 10, the trait of behavior of the self. It's also the trait of self-love or self-hate. And it's in the G center, our center that's associated with love, identity, and direction in life. It's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 34, the trait of power in the sacral center that's being activated by Mercury. Together, they create the channel of exploration, a design of following one's convictions. This is an individual channel. It's not about society's convictions or your family's convictions. It's about your convictions as an individual. What do you stand for? Empowerment of behavior can come through this channel. When you're following your convictions, it can be seen through your behavior. And your correct behavior allows you to follow your convictions. This is part of the centering circuit, along with the 25, which we have in the transit field, and the 51 in the ego center. And following your convictions is the energy and ability to be centered in yourself. This is the vital energy of the sacral center, the energy of life, connecting with the gate of self love. Truly loving yourself is loving your life. So, this channel brings the possibility to empower self love and love of your life. Or the polarity can be there as well: self hate, empowerment of self hate, and hate of the life. With Mercury and its theme of communication in gate 34, the trait of power, we may hear people talking about the power of love or the power of hate. Mars can be very immature and hasty, or more rarely, mature and patient. So, with its activation of gate 10, this can bring a pressure to behave rashly instead of following the strategy of your type, which for most of you is wait to respond. And others wait for the invitation, wait for the lunar cycle. And for manifestors, inform those who will be impacted. This Mars energy could also have people trying to impose their convictions on others rather than just living their convictions. So you may feel the pressure of that or see that play out around you. Mars can also amplify the ability to stand by your convictions and really live them. That in turn can empower others to do the same. Biologically, this is the channel that's correlated with the spine. So when this channel is present, or if you have it in your design, if you don't stand up for your convictions, it could result in back problems. We see that in our sayings, right? If someone's not standing up for themselves, their convictions, we say they need to get a spine or that they're spineless. All right. Well, we have 4 channels being created by transits of the moon this cycle. So they're just little tasters, little samplers, because the moon only activates a gate or a trait for about 10 or 11 hours, give or take. First up, coming in on December 9th at 4:22 a.m., going until 2:23 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC, that's coming in December 9th at 11:22 a.m., going until 9:23 p.m. We have the moon moving into gate 4, the trait of answers in the Ajna center, connecting with its electromagnetic gate 63, the trait of doubt in the head center. That one's being activated by the north node of the moon. Together, they create the channel of logic, a design of mental ease mixed with doubt. This channel is the start of the mental logic process. It starts with being suspicious of and doubting the patterns that currently exist. This is the scientific mind. Once you've expressed your doubt, it opens up the door for potential answers through that gate 4, the trait of formalization. If there's nothing that you're doubting at the time, the mind will be at ease. When this channel's present, there's the potential to find answers to your doubts and suspicions. Just remember that they're only potentials at this point. Nothing should be grabbed as the answer. It will also definitely support any planning or analytical thinking that you need to do in that time frame. Next up, coming in December 11th at 8:01 a.m., going until 6:46 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC coming in December 11th at 3:01 p.m., going until December 12th at 1:46 a.m. We have the moon moving into gate 47, the trait of oppression and realization in the Ajna center. It's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 64, the trait of confusion in the head center being activated by the south node of the moon. So we're seeing our sister channels here, the channel of logic we just talked about, now moving to the channel of abstraction. This is a design of mental activity mixed with clarity. This is where the mental process of making sense of our experiences occurs. The puzzle pieces are being put together to have those realizations. And it's a tough mental process. It takes time to go from the confusion of, okay, what was that all about, to getting those realizations. So as the keynote says, it brings a busy mind and the potential for mental clarity. Getting those ahas that can be shared with others and in turn may support them in their own making sense process. Next up, we have a twofer, one gate that's going to give us two channels. So this is coming in December 13th at 2:58 p.m., going until the 14th at 2:13 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC coming in December 13th at 9:58 p.m., going until the 14th at 9:13 a.m. We have the moon moving into gate 57, the trait of intuitive insight in the splenic center, with its awareness and knowing in the now of what's safe and healthy or not for you as an individual. It's connecting with both the 10 and the 34, that in the channel of exploration that we talked about already. The 57 to the 34, the splenic center connecting to the sacral center, is the channel of power, a design of an archetype. This is the power to individuate as a human, to be uniquely you. It's also where the intuitive clarity of the gate 57 is being empowered. The 57 to the 10 creates the channel of perfected form, a design of survival. It brings an individual pressure to enhance the physical form and the forms in our environment. When we do this, it can be very artistic, but it also enhances our ability to survive on the earth plane. While all three gates are activated, you get the power to be aware in the now of what needs to be perfected and what convictions to follow as an individual, regardless of what anyone else thinks. That brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases. So your not self mind could start to think that they're part of you, even when it's not something that you have in your own design. And then when the transit moves on, that can be confusing to the mind. Let's start with the nodes of the moon, which are in the gates of doubt and confusion in the head center, bringing the pressure to think logically and abstractly, respectively. The nodes are about what we see in the world and what's in our environment. And this is generally going to bring an environment of people sharing with each other, sharing their doubts and their confusion. Doubt comes from seeing patterns and formula that no longer seem to be working. And confusion comes when you haven't put the puzzle pieces together in the making sense process. The doubt and confusion can bring good questions and inspires the rest of the mental logic and abstract circuitry, respectively. Ultimately, it can bring the potential to raise consciousness or not. It can be a very intellectually stimulating environment and a very intellectually competitive environment. We have these traits in line 2, which has a theme of projection and represents both the hermit and the natural. So, first of all, because this line projects out, we're going to see that people seem to doubt each other and be suspicious of each other, whether that's really true or not. From that projection, we can start asking each other, what's the matter? And if there really is doubt there, it's going to call that question, that doubt, out of the person. The doubt is the inspiration that has the potential to bring answers. For gate 63, line 2 is called structuring. It's a reminder that the question, the doubt, has the power. Even if someone else comes up with an answer that seems to work, without a well-structured question, there can be no answer. In the exaltation, there's an acknowledgement of those who participated in finding that theory that seems to work. And in the detriment, the acknowledgement is not given, like the scientist who writes a paper on the theory, but doesn't acknowledge those who actually did the work. Like, I came up with the question, I'm the only one who should have their name on that paper. All right, gate 64 in line 2 is called qualification. This brings an environment where confusion is being projected out. It seems like everyone's confused. Out of that, there's going to be asking what the other is confused about. If they really are confused, they can share that. And it could inspire others to help them make sense. Or there could be this not even knowing what one is confused about and getting mentally lost in that. So we may notice people around us who are really lost in their confusion. They don't even know how to articulate it, and others who can express it, and then people helping each other make the realizations. Overall, all of this projection of confusion and doubt could really have people getting caught up in the mind. It could bring some really good inspiration for you mentally, or out of the projections, you may get drawn into answering someone else's questions or helping them make sense when it's not how you should be using your energy. So, just something to watch there. While the nodes are in these gates, it's always a good reminder that your mind is not for making decisions in your life. All right, moving to the outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto remain in the same gates and lines, although we will see Neptune go direct on December 10th. Jupiter will continue its retrograde and move from line 4 to line 3 on December 12th. So, just a brief review of the long term transits here to give you a little more detail on them. Jupiter is in gate 62, the trait of detail in the throat center, with its voice of I think or I don't think. It's part of the mental logic circuitry. As we start this cycle, it's going to be in line 4 called asceticism, where there'll be pressure to withdraw so that you can get all the details sorted and organized for expression when the right opportunity arises, so that you can explain what you think backed up by all the facts and details. However, it can also bring out this expressing details and facts to try and impress rather than so others can actually understand. On December 12th at 6:23 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, it's going to continue its retrograde back into line 3, which is called discovery. This is the line of trial and error, and its exaltation says a genius for the unusual, the ability to discover valuable information in detail work and to find innovative applications for this knowledge, the unusual gift of finding and expressing valuable detail. This is really a great representation of the trial and error process that can be tough. There's lots of mistakes that are going to be made in the trial and error process. But if you take time to learn from the mistakes, you can really refine your theories and methods and really get your facts straight and laid out in a way that others truly can understand. In the detriment, it says a dissatisfaction with the monotony of detail work where what is missed may be of great importance and value. The expression of dissatisfaction and boredom in detail work. Now, this comes from not wanting to look at the mistakes, and that typically arises from the not self societal pressure that says mistakes are bad, mistakes are failures. This is line 3. In this line, there's the opportunity that when you share, for example, a theory, the method, the formula, and someone challenges it and can show you it doesn't work, if you can keep your ego in check, you get to go back to the drawing board, incorporating that new information. And you can access Jupiter's expansiveness and good fortune in the discoveries that could be made in the process. Saturn's in gate 36, the trait of crisis. This is also in line 3, trial and error. However, the line 3 aspect of this trait can have you holding on to the old through the change process in a way that could hinder the full progress that could be made. Uranus is sitting in gate 8, the individual trait of contribution, in line 5 called Dharma. This is the line of the teacher, where you contribute your wisdom and let others go do what they want with it. Or in the detriment, where you don't want to let go of those you contribute to, so you can try to control how they use your contribution, like the parent who can't let go of the child and let them spread their own wings. Neptune sitting in gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence and universal love. It's in line 2 called the existentialist, bringing the pressure to be here now rather than worrying what will be or what has been. If the ego gets involved, there can be a wanting to be recognized for one's selfless actions, which is no longer selfless. Pluto is sitting in gate 41. We saw it move back into gate 41 last cycle. This is the trait of decrease and contraction. It's sitting in line 1 that's called reasonableness. I should mention too that gate 41, a way to think of it is the gate of fantasy. It's part of the abstract experiential circuitry. And when you're thinking about a new experience, it begins with innocent fantasy. What is the next experience that you'd like to have? Now, line 1, reasonableness, it has a developmental theme. So it's something that you learn over time that says the appropriate delegation of responsibility. Its exaltation says the imagination to make the very best out of very little. Coolness, where the energy to release feelings is selective. This is the gate of contraction. So eventually, out of all the fantasies, you've got to be reasonable. What could really be brought into fruition down the road? You've got to be able to narrow down those fantasies to the one, because part of the rules of thumb of the experiential circuitry is one experience at a time. The detriment says a tendency and understanding to assume capability, leading to strain, the hothead, the urge to release feelings. So, yeah, not having that patience with the process of narrowing things down to the one. So there's very much this hot, cool energy that can come out of this particular activation. So looking overall, considering the Sun-Earth positions, we have an environment of confusion and doubt that could bring good questions or that people could just get lost in. In the world, expect to hear the voices of both the haves and the have-nots trying to express and really sell what needs to change to improve things materially and potentially spiritually for whomever they see as their tribe. That could be in a business, their country, their community, whatever group it might be. In that, there is going to be exaggeration. There's a high potential for lying to try and sell things, although there is that potential as well for some great truths to come out. And there'll be a lot of details and facts given that may not be true when put to the test and simply be fantasy. Real progress may ultimately be limited by the inability to let go of the past, and expect to see those with a need for individual contributions to be constantly recognized for their selflessness in what is really a need for the ego to be stroked. The ability to influence and sell change towards continuous improvement of the Sun's egoist gate activation is best, as I mentioned before, when you really believe in the transformation, in what that new is, and you're a living example of that. So once that channel of exploration comes in on the 12th, with its support for following your convictions, it could really enhance that ability. When you believe in that new and it's part of following your convictions, wow, that's really strong energy to facilitate making change if that's what your strategy and authority are saying you should be using your energy for. Remember that for any of these traits, if you don't have them in your own design, it's just pressure from the transit field. You can observe it playing out around you, you can learn from it, but whether there's anything for you to do with it is according to your own strategy and authority. So just don't let the transit field run you. This brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. If you're new to human design and you want to understand the basics of the body graph at a high level, what's the black and the red about, the different geometric shapes, feel free to grab my free human design basics mini course. It's at margogfraser.com/human-design. All right. Well, expect exaggeration. You may find yourself exaggerating. Just bring some humor to it. Recognize that it doesn't have to be a bad thing. There will also be this pressure to look at your resources, what you have and what you don't have. Be aware of buying what you want but don't have out of this pressure if you don't actually have the financial resources to do so. You certainly may have others trying to convince you to buy something and exaggerating what it will do for you. There will also be the pressure to look for support from others and to support others. As always, check in with your strategy and authority to determine what's really correct for you. Okay, have a great cycle and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.